What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, what's going on with more data involving the markets, and some very, very bullish news that came out for NIO involving the new Onvo L60. But before I break down devil's information, before I get into any more details and give you any price predictions for NIO going into tomorrow, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moon link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moon, deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends in just about 9 days from now. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. Looking at NIO, we had a little bearish divergence that developed in the chart right here, which led to this sell-off that we got. This is also accompanied by the fact that we had a buy the rumor, sell the news event with the whole launch of their sub-brand. So that's why the share price kind of reacted the way it did. But moving forward, there are still a lot of signs of potential for the charts, especially as we really start to zoom out. So I'm going to break down more details about NIO, about Tesla, SPY, and the others. But let me first talk about a couple of other things. I first want to mention that for the week, we have something very important happening. Now, tomorrow we have Li Auto announcing its earnings. Then we also have a couple more coming out. Then going into the future for Tuesday, we have more retail like Macy's, Lowe's, AutoZone, and a few others. For Wednesday, we have Target and TJ Maxx. And then for after the market closes on that day, we also have Nvda announcing its earnings. That's going to be very important for the way the market ends up moving. We'll be watching this very, very carefully. So I'll be watching to see what happens with earnings. That's going to be very key for the markets, especially on Wednesday when we have Nvidia's earnings. That's going to be pivotal for the way we end up moving. For data involving the markets, we had Jerome Powell give a speech, but he didn't really say anything about monetary policy, so we're not going to focus too much on that. Tomorrow is going to be Monday, May 20th, 2024. Please know that throughout the entire day, we have a bunch of Fed speakers. We have Bostic, Barr, Waller, and Jefferson all giving speeches for the first 1 hour of the day. Between the time it's like 8:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 1 hour after the market ends up opening. So a bunch of Fed speakers in the morning. And after that, we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out at 11:30 a.m. Then Boston giving a speech. And that's pretty much it for the markets. Nothing too crazy is coming out for tomorrow in terms of data, but we do have a couple of Fed speakers. Excuse me. For more data, NIO's new low-cost Onvo L60, it could boost sales to 20 plus thousand per month. There's actually some very, very big news for them because NIO has not been able to kind of surpass that threshold yet, at least consistently. And I think that NIO is going to get closer to meaning on track to reach that, especially as they have a lot more competition at stake and they're becoming a lot more competitive with more affordable pricing. So that's going to be very important for them. I'm very excited to see what this actually ends up leading to. So the new $30,000 Onvo L60 could lead to a sales surge, if anything. It costs about $30,000. It's actually cheaper than the Model Y. Not trying to say it's better or worse. I'm just trying to say that it gives them a more competitive advantage. And it's going to be starting its deliveries as early as September 2024. They're targeting the Onvo L60 monthly deliveries volume of about 10,000 units. And it's going to be very pivotal for the way they end up moving. Now, others out there are saying that the previous target of 20,000 deliveries per month is doable. And that's actually going to be very bullish because, once again, one of the things that William Lee Bin mentions is that they're going to get very close or closer to profitability the closer it gets to, surpassing the 20,000 monthly delivery mark. So they're getting closer to that. Do I think they're going to see a profit for the short term? I can't promise that, but I do believe that they're getting closer and closer to it. It's very difficult for many different EV companies like this. So there's been a lot of growth, and I still see them getting closer to the right path. And I think this is very, very awesome. On top of all of this, there's been some talk about how the NIO Onvo L60 gets over 1,000 kilometers or 621 plus thousand or 621 plus miles, not thousand, guys. Sorry about that. 621 plus miles of range, which is not bad whatsoever. And then you could also kind of like change that depending on the kind of battery you use. So if you use like a 555 kilowatt battery, it could actually be a little bit different. But that's actually really, really cool. Very, very nice range, very, very cool looking design, and other awesome things have been coming out. So I'm very excited for what else is going to come from this. And this is a very, very big bullish catalyst, at least for the long term. For the short term, it did lead to a little pop in NIO. We did drop once the news came out, but I still think that there is potential for NIO to bounce. And once again, we're still seeing a lot of headlines about this, a lot of news about this on NIO's Twitter page about how Onvo is very, very awesome. It has so much potential, and it's going to be very, very useful, at least for lots of these investors. For volume, we have about 60 million, very close to average, not really crazy. We're kind of seeing a lot of chop right now. Short volume kind of dipped to about that 60% mark. And then JP Morgan also gave NIO an upgrade from an underweight to a neutral rating. On top of all of that, we also have, once again, the price price ratio is kind of flat right now. We're currently at this a little bit of a dip. That's because of the fact that as far as NIO goes, NIO is seeing a little bit of shift in its strength, at least for now. This could shift later on as well to the upside if we build more strength. But strength is kind of dwindling a little bit for NIO. That's because of what's been happening, at least recently, with the share price. So NIO's been dipping a lot for the last like 3 days, kind of trading sideways now. This happened amidst the buy the rumor, sell the news events, but now we're approaching some key support at our 50 EMA. And notice how we did get a bounce very close to our 200 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. So from a technical standpoint, it looks to me like this could have been a liquidity grab right here. We might see a little pop in NIO as long as we try to hold above 5.36. If we hold that, we're going to be easily pushing to 5.6 again, in my opinion. If we lose 5.36, we're going to be dipping back down to about 5.1, then $5 flat. So I'll be watching this very, very carefully. Now, you might be asking yourself, why do I have all these levels kind of drawn out here? It's because these are levels NIO has been kind of reacting to for the entire month. We've been kind of stuck between 5 and 6 for the entire month, guys. So that's why I have very, very tight levels to be watching for. NIO is very known for being tight. So I think with this little liquidity grab, there might be some upwards pressure coming, and we could see a little push for 5.5 to 5.6, and then maybe a move back down with some sideways price action. But look for a little push upwards and some sideways price action. I find that to be very probable for NIO moving forward. Now, as far as SPY goes, I want to say that SPY is currently on an uptrend overall, but we want to be very careful. So I do anticipate a little bounce that's going to be coming, a little rebound right here off this little liquidity grab. They might try to push it a little bit higher, but watch and see if we establish a lower high. So it's very simple. SPY is very simple. If we're going to turn it down a little bit more, you want to see SPY do this. We kind of pop to this 530 zone, and we fail to break this high right here. Could we fill the imbalance? It's possible we go a little higher, but if we fail to break this high at 531.5 and reject, we could be sinking just like this, right back down to levels like that. If we end up breaking the all-time high, then we're going to continue to uptrend, and we're going to push a little bit higher before we try to turn. So those are the two possibilities. I favor what's going to happen is we're going to kind of push a little higher, then watch and see if we make a lower high or not. But I do favor that this thing is going to push a little higher towards 530, and we'll see if we get a rejection or not. But right now, resistance is getting tighter, and I do favor that we might see a little move to the downwards direction because of the fact that we have this like big red bar, and also because of the fact that we've pushed so hard in a way where the market's a little overextended. So look for a little push higher and see if we establish a lower high. If that's the case, then we could be dipping lower. And we'll watch and see if that ends up being the case. Same thing with the QQQ. It's actually getting a little bit more bearish than SPY. You guys can see how it's been kind of downtrending a bit. Could retest 452 to 453, then come back down towards 449, excuse me, the 20 EMA all over again. So let's see if we get a little pop and drop and see what the next reaction happens to be. For Nvda, Nvidia is kind of dipping a little bit. We're kind of testing this previous resistance becoming support. So you might be expecting a little rebound because of that. We could retest the 930 to 944 area before we try to make our way back down lower. And we might actually get a test of this trend line as we approach some very, very big levels. So as far as Nvidia goes, it is possible we see a little bit of a dip before it tries to bounce approaching its earnings. It might even push a little bit approaching earnings. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of pop a little bit. We basically pop a bit towards this 930 area, dip a bit to test this trend line. But once we hit this trend line, in the lower 900s, we'll watch and see if we get a bounce off that. That's going to be like a big thing worth noting about Nvidia. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. So look for once again a little dip on Nvidia, then a bounce, and then we'll see what happens once it touches the trend line again. That's going to be key for the way we end up moving. And then finally, we have Tesla and Aapl before I conclude the video. Tesla is on a very, very nice looking trend right now. We have a cup and a handle like structure, but if we manage to hold above 180, then yes, I can see us going all the way up to about 185. If we fail to hold 180 and kind of reject it, then we could actually dip towards 175 again. Technically speaking, it looks more bullish than bearish looking at these technicals. So we will see if that ends up being the case for Tesla. Could dip a little bit in the morning, then try to rebound and start pushing later on. There is upside potential to get to the lower 180s, in my personal opinion. So watch to see if we get a little dip and bounce, and we'll be watching that very, very carefully. As far as Aapl goes, we have 190.5 as resistance and 189 as support. We've been trading kind of sideways in this range for the past 3 days. I wouldn't be surprised if we just continue to trade sideways and we'll see which way we break. But for now, it's just very choppy, so we'll wait and see what the direction break happens to be. For Bitcoin, I know a lot of people are interested in Bitcoin. Currently, Bitcoin is kind of trading sideways down here within this range. We have 67K as resistance, supports at 65K. It's been back and forth for the last week. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin kind of retests 66,373. That's where our 20 EMA happens to be. And we get a little dip towards our 50 EMA for 65K. I think we might end up doing that, in my personal opinion. For Just a few more like AMC, GameStop, they're still looking kind of bearish. I think we could fill this gap to 70 on GameStop, then bounce. AMC may dip a little bit more towards the fours, then try to bounce. So we also have a gap down here to fill. I think that we're going to be dipping to 3.93 on AMC, then try to bounce, and we'll see how things go. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. Hopefully this video was insightful and helpful for the people who are interested in this technical analysis, and we'll see what happens with NIO moving forward. With that being said, I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you. I think that there is potential for us to try to rebound a little bit, so we'll watch and see if NIO tries to get back to these higher levels, the 5.5 to 5.6 area, and see what the reaction is from there. I'll be watching that carefully, so I do see potential for it to rebound a bit and then trade and shuffle from there. All right, so thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.